Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Adam, and in today's video I'd like to have a physical media discussion about why is it that I don't just buy and watch 4K exclusively. Why do I watch other formats like Laserdisc, DVD and Blu-ray? I'm doing this off the back of a lot of comments that I've had on my own channel, on other people's channels, where they're like, why are you watching and buying DVDs? They're garbage. If you've got a 4K TV, just watch 4K. 4K is where it's at. You got to be there and all this. So I thought I'd do this video. There's actually 7 reasons why I don't just stick to 4K, and we're going to get in all of that. Now, I actually did attempt recording this video yesterday, and I edited it, uploaded it to YouTube, didn't publish it, but I previewed it like I do all my videos just to check that, what they look like on YouTube, and I just wasn't happy with it. So I thought I'll re-record it, but that original take, which is about just over an hour or just under an hour, I'm gonna put into my members only section. So if you're a member on this channel, you can actually see that original take video. And if you want to join, just click the join button. You can join as a member to see that and loads of other exclusive member only videos. And you'll get the opportunity to, when I post up a video that's going to schedule to publish in like the future, you get to watch it immediately rather than having to wait for it to publish. Anyway, let's get to it. Now, in the description box, there's going to be a timestamp where if you just want to hear the 7 reasons and that is it, click that timestamp and you'll zip straight to the section. Before I give the 7 reasons, I want to give like a history of my physical media collecting to give you an idea why I think the way I do. I've been collecting physical media films since the 90s, so I've been through many waves of formats, and I don't really have a favorite, but I've seen it all, and yeah, let's start. Let's get into it. So look, the reason why I even collect physical media films, we're only really going to be talking about films in this, is because I love going to the cinema. I've always have as a kid, going to watch a film in the cinema, the big picture, the big sound, and like just wanting to recreate that experience, the theatrical cinema experience in my own home, and that's what's always driven me in like the films, the hardware, TV projector, yada yada yada. So back in the 90s, when I was able to buy my own stuff, VHS, obviously as a teenager, like 12 years plus, was the only thing I could afford. Eventually I got like a job and was able to afford a CRT TV, widescreen Philips 32-inch with surround speakers, Pro Logic built in. Love it. And the very first VHS I bought was in 1991, and that was Robin Hood. For some reason I still have it. It was in storage, I found, and this is the VHS I bought in 1991, which I think looks pretty good condition. It's been sitting in storage for a long time. I went to see this at the cinema and absolutely loved it. I wanted to get the little figure that that you could play with. I was only like 12 or 13, and yeah, got this. Now eventually, because obviously I started buying more VHSs, and eventually in the mid 90s they because these were all pan and scan, but then they started turning widescreen. Like you could buy the widescreen version, much like what Laserdisc had for years. VHS started to slowly creep that in, and it was like, I want the widescreen version because that's the true theatrical ratio. So yes, now I basically was rebuying a lot of titles that I already had that were now coming out as widescreen editions. And one thing I used to do is, let's say I want to go get the Robin Hood widescreen edition, which I don't think I actually ever did, to be honest. I think DVD had come out by the time, so I just got it on DVD. But what I would basically do is I would take, let's say, another VHS that I knew that I would also upgrade that to widescreen sometime in the future, but I would take it into, I think it was Our Price, and I would say, hi, you know, I've got this for my birthday. I've already got it though. Can I trade it in for something else? Now, I would always make sure that I took in a film that was of equal value to that widescreen version, which was pretty difficult because the older cassettes were cheaper than the widescreen version. And basically what I would do is then go choose the widescreen version of the film that I want, and then they would just swap it out and go, there you go, da, 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 da. And I'd walk away. Now, 80% of my changing the pan and scan version to widescreen was done that way, shamedly enough. Other times I would actually have to buy it. So I started collecting a lot of VHS, really loving watching films on a CRT TV, 32 inches, pretty big, and loving life. Now, in the sort of 1997 time, because obviously I couldn't afford Laserdisc, by the way. I'd heard about it, couldn't afford it. But then we heard on the horizon that DVD was coming out. And, you know, still using my CRT TV, when I saw, because I used to get magazines when they started to first do DVD. There was a magazine called DVD Review. And once I got this, I think this was like 1999 when this came out. But it have pictures of what the quality was like on the DVD. And like after the first issue, and it tells you all about DVD, I was like, I definitely want DVD. You know, and MVC was my local place where I would go get most of my titles. In fact, you could get this one here, which is not too dissimilar from the one I got, for 249 quid. That was the same price as the one I bought, but mine was silver instead of black. But I was so hyped for DVD because at the end of the day, it was, I'll find somewhere to put that. It was a superior format over VHS, double the resolution, cleaner picture, because, you know, VHS is done on a analog transfer, so you have loads of noise interference built within, and then when you're playing it back, more noise on top. And DVD was just a clean transfer of double the resolution and Dolby Digital, you know. So I basically took all my VHSs together, took them down to the local market, sold the lot, 400 tapes. I mean, he didn't give me even 300 quid for it, but it was enough money to buy my first DVD player and get my first DVD disc, which, to be honest, I'd already collected a couple through a local trader, Conair and Jerry Maguire. But now I could go into the shop in 1999, this was, because they were actually selling them in the shops. And Titanic was the first one I bought with my DVD player. And started to collect DVD now, and obviously I've lost my 400 title collection, so a lot of titles were having to be bought again. Jurassic Park, now when that came out, buying that for a second time. I don't think I ever had the pan and scan Jurassic Park. I think I just always had the widescreen version of VHS. So, but like DVD on my CRT TV looked ace. Looks really good, and I remember having this particular jewel box case of Godzilla as well. Now, as the years went on, and like, you know, I think by 2001, like I'm still buying DVD, you know, and amassing like a 300 plus now collection of new titles coming in, paying full price, older titles that are from the past, but they're still coming out new, full price again, literally paying for my VHS collection all over again at full price. In 2001, I actually left home to work at Butlins. I left my TV with my mom because I didn't feel like I could take it with me and leave her without a TV. So I left it at home, and I ended up living in Chester and getting married and all that, yada, 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 and getting a HD ready TV around 2001, 2002, because high definition was coming out now. And so the HD ready TV could only do 720p, you know? And when I plugged up my DVD player to that telly, DVDs were now beginning to look a little bit ropey. The player obviously didn't have a great upscaler, you know? and the TV obviously didn't have any scaling ability probably, so DVDs weren't looking that good. So one thing I did, because again I want to recreate the home theater experience, and DVDs did look good until I changed my monitor, and then they started looking shit again. So I went and invested into a projector, which was a 480 projector. It wasn't like a high definition projector or even a 720p projector. It was like a DVD projector basically. And I invested into a modest amplifier and loads of speakers and started to actually project DVDs onto the wall. And I remember my first American DVD I bought was The Mummy on the Universal Collector's Edition. Got this when it was, in the cinemas in the UK. Absolutely, was thrilled with it. Had to use a remote control hack to watch it, But I'm watching my movies, my DVDs on the projector on the screen, loving it. And then a neighbor comes calling. Cooey, hello, it's 2003. HD DVD, anyone? High definition, and obviously higher resolution than DVD. The discs were even increased in size, so there's less compression over a DVD. And I'm like, the future of home entertainment must be, But I didn't have the TV to watch it, My HD ready TV wasn't good enough. But HD DVD must have known that, this fact that there would be a lot of people who don't have the ability to play high definition just yet. And so they started bringing out these combo packs where it was DVD and HD DVD. So when I saw this, I was like, yeah, I do want to get onto the high definition train, because it's going to be better quality over DVD, which is looking tired on my system. And so you get the one disc with this dual format where it's a DVD on one side, a HDVD on the other. So I could actually buy the future, as it were, watch it on the DVD side currently, and then when I have a player, when I have the ability to see a 1080p picture, watch the HD DVD version, and all is well. And started to buy a few of these combo packs for new films that were coming out. Now, back when HD DVD first came out, I'd never heard of Blu-ray. The PS3 wasn't aware until the following year after HD DVD, and it was like, Blu-ray, I'm bothering. No one's going to buy Blu-ray because HD DVD is all the rage right now. So I started to buy a few titles in preparation. And then, of course, my 720p telly broke. Bummer. So I was forced to, go buy another one. And so I looked around for deals, found in Curry's when I lived in Chester, Samsung TV, full 1080p now. Great. And I could not believe my luck, but they were giving away a Toshiba HD DVD player when you buy the telly. I mean, actually, it was like the telly was £100 more expensive. But I'm like, this bundle pack is going to allow me to finally get on the high definition bandwagon, And this is what they do nowadays. Even like when Blu-ray first came out, they bunged in the DVD. When 4Ks first came out, they bunged in the Blu-ray. Like, this is where it all started, though, HD DVD. And now that I had about 30 titles, I could start watching them plugged up to a full-on HD 1080p telly. And wow, oh wow, I saw a difference, But again, not too bothered about Blu-ray. Now, not every studio got on board with HD DVD. Obviously, Sony's studios weren't putting their money into HD DVD when they're going to be bringing out the Blu-ray. So a lot of titles, when 2005 hit, I wouldn't be able to buy. And then on the horizon, like literally, the PS3 is going to come out, and I saw the footage of it, and I'm like, I want that console. I couldn't afford it, though. I had no chance of being able to buy it because it was like nearly £600 on launch. It was mental prices. And my friend had pre-ordered it with 3 games, and he'd spent something like 700 quid. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I can afford that unless by now I've got like 350 of my DVDs. The only way I think I can afford it is if I go off and sell a lot of my DVDs. And I did. I went to, over the week lead up to the PS3 launch, I basically unloaded all my DVDs at CEX. And I had TV shows, you know, I had films, about 350 of them, got about 500 quid for it overall, which isn't even 75p a film, you know. But I knew that I'd be able to afford at least the base, you know, PS3 package without a game. And as I queued up at the midnight launch with my friend, who was just picking his up because he'd already paid for it, the store, it was the game store that he had bought it from, but the company across the road, GameStop, were trying to fish people lining up saying, hey, we're selling it for like 450 quid or 500 quid with a game. And I'm like, I'll be there in the morning, mates. I will come and pick one up. And I did the very next day, picked it up with, I think it was a MotorStorm. My friend had spent like £200 more. I'd got it by selling all my DVDs. And now I had a HD DVD player and a Blu-ray player. So I was able to now start buying both formats, you know. And until about 2007 it was, when HDVD announced, yeah, we're not making these anymore, guys. It's very clear who the winner is. Well, I didn't even realize there was a HD war going on. I just thought that, and I think most people did, is that these would live alongside each other. You know, because some studios were only doing HD DVD, some studios were only doing Blu-ray, some studios were doing both, and you could pick and choose. And they started to build camps on both sides, and I definitely was HDVD side. I had, say, about 30 titles, and I was never buying the same film on both formats. I was just one or the other. But, yeah, they went bye-bye. See you later. Ta-ra. And so I guess I had to stick with Blu-ray, but I never got rid of my player and the films. They would remain, and I would continue to watch those versions because, in all honesty, the color and black level on HD DVD was superior to Blu-ray. These are a bit brighter and almost a little bit mistier than the HD DVD, which had amazing black level and strong colors over the Blu-ray. But started to basically rebuy everything again, didn't I? You know? I had like 350 DVDs, now I've got to go buy more. And every year they would come out, and I'll be like, yeah, oh, yeah, here we go. Now the Batman's films are out. Not so much loving the covers, but I can get them. Here we go. And these versions were really nice. Definitely a upgrade from the DVD, which looked nothing like these. But people, I mean, I don't know what people were saying about these, to be honest, but I loved them because I started to collect 35mm frames by this point, and I have a 35mm frame of the Joker, which it looks identical to what's on this disc. What's that? Oh, it's Batman logo inside. It's identical to what's on this disc. So I was like, these are true to 35mm. And to be honest, I upgraded my projector to a 1080p projector, but I never really got to use it that much because I started to, you know, create a business for myself, photography studio, and that projector was in the photography studio. So I was still watching off the telly, the films, off either the PS3, the Blu-ray player, or my HD DVD, which could also play DVDs, but I never bought them because I was all about the high definition. The future. Why would you want to go back? You know what I mean? To the peasants. You know? Why? And so, yeah, started to buy them. Now, around about 2013, I had money enough to start buying something that I'd always wanted, and it really did start with the Star Wars Special Edition. But I was in a position where I could buy not only my first Laserdisc player, but Laserdiscs as well. And plugged them up to my 1080p TV with the shittiest little adapter, which did no justice to these things, and started to amass a really big collection. Look at the artwork on that. That is just, yeah. You know, started to get a really big collection going. And then 2015 rolls around and we hear, on the horizon, there is a new format. It's called 4K. And you better watch out, because it's going to blow your mind. You know, I think even if there are adverts in these things, they were saying something like 5 times the resolution of Blu-ray, which is a slight lie. I think it's more like 4 times. But it's way, like, it's 4 times sharper than Blu-ray. Full lossless audio. And the hype was here, you know. Now, in 2016, I was in a position where I could actually buy a 4K telly. And my first 4K Blu-ray player, which is the same Blu-ray player 4K I have today. The Panasonic DVP whatever 1000, I can't remember. My TV was the Samsung Curved, you know, like 65 inch or something, really nice, full 4K as well, which I would come to learn that you could also get 4K ready and full 4K, and there is a difference, and I'll get into that in a second. But I was like, yeah, I'm not selling me Blu-rays and HD DVDs. I ain't falling for that one again. But when you do buy the 4K titles, when they start coming out, they come with the Blu-ray anyway. So I'm like, right, well, actually, like, what is this cover all about? Like, is this the TV show? Like, I really did not like this cover. And, you know, yeah, has the Blu-ray, has the 4K. But off the back of this cover, this one to me looks better and more faithful to the original. So I didn't actually want to get rid of these just for the cover, you know. Plus, I didn't know, but people were starting to complain about these when they first came out, going, yeah, man, there's like a big old teal tint to them or something. The color grade isn't right. Like, what's going on there? And so I was like, I better hold on to my original Batmans just in case. Now, I got all 4 films on 4K, watched the 4Ks, and yeah, I think at the beginning I did agree there is a tint. There is something weird with these 4Ks. The Blu-rays that were in this pack were just identical to these ones, you know. But I still didn't want to give these up, to be honest, just because of the packaging, and I didn't want to get, like, swap over the packaging type of thing. I could have, but these don't say 4K on it. So I thought, keep the Blu-rays, keep these. Now, with a lot of films that I was repeat buying on 4K, I would give the Blu-ray that I'm replacing to, like, either my children or a friend. And so, like, I had a Blu-ray of Bram Stoker's Dracula, really nice. I'll put a picture here up of what it was like, but the picture on that Blu-ray was really good, way better than a Laserdisc and a DVD previous. I don't think this one was coming out on HD DVD because it's a Sony picture. So when I got this, because I really do like this film and I wanted to see it in its best, and when I actually bought my 4K player, it came with 5 free 4K discs, 2 David Attenborough documentary series, and 3 films. One of the films was Everest, the other one was Deepwater Horizon. I can't remember what the third one was. But David Attenborough's documentaries, which were shot in 4K, allowed me to fully see, wow, that's better than Blu-ray, more detailed on my curved screen, looks great, presentation. So I was sold on 4K, and I was rebuying films that I already had. So when I got this, I got rid of the Blu-ray. To be honest, this came from the same transfer master as that Blu-ray. The Blu-ray that's included in this is the same as the one I got rid of. So getting rid of the Blu-ray didn't really mean much to me because I still had it if I wanted it. But I'm all about the 4K, bitch. Like, yeah, let's start now rebuying all our films again, basically. So, like, there's so many films that I was picking up that I already had on Blu-ray or that I'd already bought on DVD or VHS, like the Jurassic Park trilogy. this would be my fourth time buying it brand new, and I'm like, you know, and then, you know, things like this happened when this came out, and I think it was like 2018, 2019, something like that. This is the first release of Iron Man Trilogy on 4K. And you get the Blu-rays with it. It's a double pack thing here. Steelbook, lovely. Came out in like Germany or France or something. I can't remember. But these 4Ks, everybody knew, you know, scandalous. These are just upscales from a 2K master. The studio has upscaled them themselves to 4K, added HDR. You know, no different from what these Blu-rays would look like. These Blu-rays, actually upscaled on my system to 4K, look better than these upscaled 2K to 4K jobs. You can see pixelation on these 4Ks. It's really weird how a Blu-ray is supreme over a 4K. But yeah, these look way better upscaled to 4K than this native 4K, which is an upscale from a 2K. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter 2K 4K, because a 35mm print, which all of these were shot on 35mm, if it doesn't have a resolution really, but if you were to translate it, the limit really is 3K. Once you scan beyond 3K, it's just going to get blurrier and blurrier the bigger you blow it up. So if you're scanning at 8K, you've got to do a lot of work on that to, you know, basically bring it back to what it should look like. Sharpening, you know, DNR, all this. And that's only really reserved for like restorations. So like when they did The Wizard of Oz, like Casablanca or whatever, they scan them beyond what the negative, so they can really get in, remove all the dust, all the scratches, all the imperfections, rebuild the film effectively, and then add a color grade and all this, enhancing the colors, extending the color range. Because at the end of the day, 35mm doesn't have, you know, a bits of color or a color space essentially like it would on a physical disc. It's an analog format, and it is what it is. The celluloid, the color, the light, it's all locked in, locked. And when you then scan it to make it a digital, now it's translation. You're translating that information into bits, a bit rate, color depth, color space, resolution, and all that, all those buzzwords, you know. And so I think when Superbit came out back in the DVD days, you know, this, people didn't see a difference really, because they were still watching them on CRT TVs. But these are an improvement, 100% guaranteed. I've done a lot of research. These are legit. They are cleaner. That's all. You're not seeing more detail. It's the same kind of scan master as the regular DVD, but it's just got more bitrate. That's it. So it's just a cleaner, less digital noise. That's the only difference. Now, for me, that translation is basically the same from like Blu-ray to DVD. It's basically a cleaner, less compressed version of this. You know, there's more bits only because there's more resolution, so it has to have more bits. But also, with that higher resolution, you know, you see more detail. Now, at the end of the day, DVD and Blu-ray share the same color depth. So effectively, the color on both is exactly the same. Now, this doesn't mean like if they do the transfer, you know, badly, then it's going to look different. You know, the transfer that is done on any medium is the ultimate daddy decision for me, because you could have a really good transfer on a DVD look better than a really bad transfer on a Blu-ray. And people will say, yeah, this looks like dog shit, or this looks good. And I'm not referring to any of these. These are just examples I'm holding in my hand. In fact, the reason why I'm holding these is because this one is a UK version of Commando. This one is basically chop suey from the BBFC. I don't know what the runtime of the normal theatrical version is, but on here it says runtime is 85 minutes. Now I'm going to guess, and I'll put it up here, the actual runtime, that it's probably around 90 minutes, and there's probably about 5-10 minutes cut from this one. And that's a factor for me into what version do I buy, the UK edition or the American edition or the Australian edition, like the international edition, because us Brits get truly ripped in the cuts, you know. That's why I had to replace my DVD with the Region 1 of Face Off, because 7 minutes more over the UK DVD, you know. So I thought, might as well just get it on Blu-ray then. It's an action film. It needs more bits type of thing. The higher resolution over DVD, I will see detail. But beyond Blu-ray, to be honest, because this is scanned at 2K. So when you get a 4K film, they're generally, I mean, the buzzword is scanned at 4K from the original negative, you know? And it's like, okay, but you're picking up things that you don't really need to at 4K. 3K, which, what's the difference? 1,000 lines. You know, 3K scan would have done you. You know, but obviously then, if they do scan at 3K, they have to upscale to 4K, which is what I found out about TVs. Get this right. When I first started watching, where's me Batman? Let's get Batman back out. Don't you... When I first started watching this on my Samsung curved 4K TV, set up the 4K player correctly, and on the options for the button on the player, you would bring it up and you would see it would say 4K. I could see the detail. Now, when I went round to a friend's house, plugged my player up to their telly, which was a Toshiba 4K ready TV, for love nor money, I could not get on my information button for it to say 4K. It would just say 2K. And I'm like, why isn't it showing 4K on that bit there? But when I pressed the information on their telly, it would show 4K. And I found out that early 4K displays wouldn't be full 4K. They would not be 4096 2160 with the Ultra HDR definition. They would be, what was it, 3860 by 2160. And the TV would scale to 4K. So the input from this using, you know, the right HDMI lead, none of the settings were changed on the player. It would be playing it at, well, 3K to the TV probably, but it would only be, the player would only be picking up like, hey, you're not a 4K player, you know, but you have the ability to play 4K. So here you go. The telly would accept whatever this was given must have been 2K, because that's what it said on the screen. And then the TV would scale it up to 4K. I noticed a big difference when I watched it at a friend's house, because it just looked like a Blu-ray. Honestly, no different. I was like, wow, hang on a second. This isn't how I remember it on my setup. And it was because those early TVs were 4K ready, but not actual 4K. Anyway, bit of a side note. So when we heard round the corner after I started, you know, buying loads, and we got 4Ks, they started releasing them, you know, I started to notice differences, you know, in the mastering, the coloring. David Fincher was the worst, though. This, not only, like, yeah, obviously everybody's going to complain about, you know, Terminator 2 and all that, but when I saw films like Seven, Panic Room coming out from David Fincher, he was doing a George Lucas on us all, which everybody knows that means you're altering your films for the format, because George Lucas did it for Blu-ray and did it again for 4K. And when, you know, David Fincher brought out his Panic Room and his Seven for 4K, which I don't have and I never will, he altered the films by adding in elements of 4K like rain, wind, or like fog, dust, smoke, whatever, but then altering the elements within the frame, you know, replacing faces of stunt guys or removing things that would be seen that they didn't want you to see, you know, and basically doing a George Lucas on his films. Now, I'm not on board with that, you know, like, I have this Panic Room. This is a DVD, and because it never came out on Blu-ray for whatever reason, you know, the only Blu-ray that you can get is the one with the 4K transfer release, and they are altered cuts at the end of the day. For me, I prefer the original theatrical, and that's where all of my purchasing decisions come from. You know, I want as close to the theatrical version or the director's intention for the theatrical version as closely as possible. I don't want a redone, rejigged, rehashed for the format only, because that's what basically has been happening since 4K came out. Either the color space will be changed because, hey guys, flash news, 4K, 6K and 8K cameras are not filmed in 12-bit color. You know, they're actually filmed in 10-bit color. The 12 bits and the HDR and the Dolby Vision of 4K media format is exclusive to this format. You don't get Dolby Vision on Blu-rays, you don't get HDR on DVDs, and you don't get 12 bits of color on even most of these discs, to be honest. Some are 10 bits still, because that's what high definition or ultra high definition is. So when films are made in Hollywood using digital cameras, say a 6K, you know, whatever they're called, Reds, they're filmed in 10 bits of color. And then when they actually go to, you know, master it for a 4K, that's where they start adding Dolby Vision. That's where they add the HDR and extend the color bit depth to 12 bits. And this alters, I believe, the grading a lot of the time. Sometimes it doesn't, but a lot of the time they're like, we need to fill that color range, you know? And so they change the color grade of the film. Twister, when that came to 4K, looks dog awful because they've got a green sky suddenly in that film. It's like that film did not have a green sky, you know, at the theater. There's loads of other films as well where the grading, like Terminator 2 is the classic boring example by now. But in all honesty, I prefer the color grade on the DVD for Dante's Peak. It is more faithful to what I remember in the cinema, what I remember on other formats. Well, this is DVD, this is DVR format. But I literally got this as an experiment, and I've done a review video on both of these. You can go check it out. And in all honesty, the 4K and the DVD, neither of these I prefer to watch. It is the Blu-ray, and you'll find out why in that video. But 4K for me, I've got a lot of tick boxes that I need ticking before I'll go, yes, I'll buy a 4K film. There are certain films that I'll never buy a 4K for because of the way it was made. Point in case, Minority Report has a lot of CGI in it. And this was from what, 2008, was it? I can't remember when the film came out. 2000 and might have even been 2005 or 6, but this was pre-4K CGI in films, and there's a lot of CGI in this film. And that means when it was created and merged with the 35mm footage, it was created into a 2K master. That master is what's gone on to make this, and gone on to make this, the Steelbook version DVD, which, to be honest, is absolutely fine to watch on my system. Looks identical to the Blu-ray, you know. I mean, probably because of the way it was filmed, the kind of grade that they gave it naturally. But honestly, these are pretty much identical. I'll do a review on these actually soon, so you can see. But no point getting a 4K. It's an upscale, no matter how you cut it, because when they make 4Ks, they don't go back to the original CGI and remake it into 4K. It's a 2K upscale to 4K. And if I buy a 4K, I want it to be a true 4K. I want it to be, you know, full 4K, not 4K ready. And a lot of 4K films coming out are 4K ready, but not full 4K. Okay? So a film like A Few Good Men, right? For me, any film made before 2015 without CGI is fair game on 4K. It will look fine, you know? Any film made after 2015 is most likely going to have 4K CGI. And that's fair game on 4K. But any film made before that has CGI, nah. I'd rather get it either on Blu-ray or DVD, you know? Now, this Blu-ray, by the way, is identical to the DVD again. These come from the same master, but this one is the UK version. This one is the, I think it's region free actually. Yeah, region free. Bought it from America though. And it's got like 5 more minutes over this one. Like, I really don't know what had to be cut out of a courtroom drama film, but there is a difference in the run times. Like, I think it's like 138 minutes, 133 minutes. And it's like, anyway. But the picture quality, when I play these back, are identical. R.I.P. Rob Reiner. I'll do a review on this actually next. This will be my next film I do a review on. And you'll see. Seriously, there's a lot of DVDs that look absolutely fine on my system and pass for Blu-rays. Laserdiscs I can watch in the same enjoyment as a Blu-ray. Anyway, let's get on. My 7 reasons why I don't just stick to 4K. For one, and I'll put them up here, it's the price. Like, it's not the 4K's fault at the end of the day. Any brand new format that comes out, you're going to be paying full price because that's just the way life is. You know, when DVDs first came out, they were £25 each. You know, when Blu-rays came out, I think they were like £30 each. And when 4Ks come out, this one was like nearly 50 quid, you know, which I'd already bought on Blu-ray, I'd already bought on DVD. You know what I mean? So near enough 200 quid I've spent on these 3 films. Yeah, it's crazy. And if I'd have just stuck to the DVDs or Blu-rays, I could have used that extra money for other things. So price is a big one. Now, it's not the 4K's fault. It's the latest format. So, of course, it's going to be the highest price. So I'm very selective then with what I buy. You know, I've only ever, like, this has been the most I've spent on 4K because this cost me £60. And I've got a special treat for you if you watch to the end of the video. You'll get to make me spend another £60. I'll come back to Daryl in a second. You sit there, mate. The second reason is, like you probably know, the transfer of the film. How has it been handled from the 35 or the source to the disc? Have they altered the grading of the color of the film? Have they changed and altered the film? Like, I am more, like, I would say transfer of the film is probably more important even than the price. The only reason I got this is because it was a faithful to the original, you know. This ain't available in the UK though. You know, it is on Blu-ray and DVD, but it doesn't have the extras that contain in this set. And that's why I went out to buy this, purely just for the extras, because the DVD in England and the Blu-ray in England is far cheaper than this, but they don't contain the documentary, the commentary that I wanted. But the transfer of the film, I would have never bought this if they'd have altered the color grading or hadn't taken care with the original intention, the theatrical presentation of this film. That is faithful to the theater. The third reason is, well, kind of ties in with that one, but the original theatrical or director's version, you know, when they start adding elements that are not in that version, like they start adding like blinking Ewoks and rocks, I've learnt my lesson already. You know, like, I don't watch the 4K, in fact, I don't even have the 4K versions, but even the Blu-ray versions, I don't watch, you know, like the original trilogy on Blu-ray anymore, because it contains blinking Ewoks and, you know, rocks. And it's like, I watch the DVDs because they don't contain that crap. I prefer directors not to change their original intention. Pardon me. Now, at the end of the day, directors can do what they want to do, you know, and that can be an alternate cut. That can be legitly fine. So, like, obviously I do have the Blu-ray pack of Star Wars because everybody bought it. But you don't learn your lessons until you make those mistakes. I wouldn't buy it again. I never bought the 4K version, you know. I just don't like when they change them for the format. And it was only done because of the format. They only changed it because of going to 4K. And that's just, nah. you know. And there's a reason why I can say all this and say that I won't buy that, because I'll buy this and still enjoy it. And that we'll get to. The fourth reason is the audio. The audio mixes. We'll go back to Daryl. This contains a stereo track. Doesn't contain, I believe, a souped up Dolby Atmos, 5.1 surround. I think it literally just has a stereo track on it, to be honest. They did not go and alter anything for this film. DTS HD stereo, that's it. Because that's how the film was shown in theaters, in stereo. It's never had a theatrical surround. Now, I believe the British version on DVD might have had a 5.1 mix, but that would have been a remix, and changing the original audio. Now, I'm not saying that they've got to stick the original theatrical audio on every release, but that would be nice, wouldn't it? But when they start taking, let's say, Bram Stoker's Dracula, this film was made in 1991, filmed most likely in Dolby Stereo Surround. I very much doubt it would have had a Dolby Digital 5.1 mix or a DTS mix, considering that only came out in like 93 in the cinema for Jurassic Park. This most likely would have had the Dolby Stereo Surround mix, like a 4-track basically, and I'll verify and I'll put here if there's any change. Now on this disc it says for the audio it contains a Dolby Atmos and a Dolby True HD 7.1. So this soundtrack has been basically taken from a 4.1 mix to a 7.1 and a Dolby Atmos 0.1. Like, basically conversion for the format. There's nothing wrong with 4.1 surround, by the way. There's a lot of Laserdiscs that have the original theatrical mix on there, and there's a lot of buzzwords at the moment, near field mixes and all that. At the end of the day, I much prefer it to contain, like this Commando as 2.0. That's what would have been in the theaters. I much prefer it to contain the original mix than to match the format. Like, they could have changed this to 5.1, but they didn't, thank God, This Godzilla was made in 1998 when DTS was around and Dolby Digital 5.1 was around and SDDS, the Sony one. Like, that's how this film was made. And on here you got Dolby Digital 5.1 and DTS. On the 4K, they've done the Dolby Atmos trick, and sometimes on Blu-rays you might see Dolby, Dolby DTS Master HD, Now on Blu-ray you'll get, if you're really lucky, the PCM 5.1 uncompressed, which is basically the like it says uncompressed master, which I think is basically what DTS Master HD is, but they buzzword it for you. And then I think, well, you also get 5.1 Dolby Digital, and this film in 1993 would have been done in probably stereo, to be honest. It's not a film that needs Dolby Surround, so I don't know if 5.1 Dolby Digital existed in... Actually, no, it did, because Phantom Menace was the first one of Dolby Digital. So most likely Dolby Digital for these two films, 5.1, is actually probably what they were in theater on. So you got the original theatrical... Not on this one, sorry. On the Blu-ray version of that, sorry. On this one. I much prefer the audio not to be remixed for the format. Now, it's not to say I don't hate Dolby Atmos. It is good. Brave in 2013 was the first film to be mixed in Dolby Atmos and presented on Blu-ray. Blu-ray can take Dolby Atmos, but now not so much. Now they don't tend to put it on Blu-ray. They just reserve it for the 4K because it's another feather in its cap to try and sell you. I think it needs it, to be honest. Like, the drop-off is starting to happen. The sales figures are in, guys. Although for this week they're actually going up again, so it's going to be up and down all the time like that. But since last year, massive drop off. Yeah. So my fifth reason is the bonus features, the packaging, the menus, the artwork, all kind of in one. I don't like it when they alter the artwork. Like, this is how the original DVD cover was, and I'm so glad they kept it. Like that, yes, brilliant. You know, hang on a second. What's this dog shit? Like, what? Hang on a second, mate. That's not the original theatrical release version. That's what I remember, except it was Tallways. But that's what I remember. Like, what? I don't like these new artworky Fandango ways. Like, no. Yes. No. Yes. Why can't they stick the original DVD artwork on the 4K disc? Oh, because people are going to get confused? But wait, it says 4K on there, you know? You got to be a right blind idiot to not see the 4K Ultra HD section in the shop or even online. Like, this is how I remember, you know? And it's not just the artwork on the actual, you know, not just the artwork on the actual poster or the front cover, but it's generally like the whole thing. Like, okay, steelbooks are always going to be steelbooks, you know. These can break easily, whatever, you know. Not too, you know, miffed off about that one. But where's all the clippers? Where's all the snapper cases? I actually really do like snapper cases. I have fallen in love with them. They've got a personality. No 4Ks these days, well, very few, sorry, 4Ks these days have little personality. They're all generics. They all end up looking the same way. You know, there's a few, you know, good ones, box sets or ways to do it, like, but majority of them, you open them up. Like, this one's got the 3 discs inside separately, but sometimes you'll open and it'll keep opening like you've had on, you know, formats before, but the artwork they choose to package this shit on, like, what is that? Where's the artwork for the DVDs, the VHSs, like, of the figures, like Matrix Revolutions, I think that had Agent Smith on it. Reloaded had, like, all 3 of them on there, and this had Neo on the cover. Like, where are those? You know, it's yeah. The menu system on DVD was amazing, and it never got repeated to Blu-ray. Like, it never went over to the format. There are DVD menus that don't exist on Blu-ray that you had on DVD, and it's like, why not? Panic Room. This is a really good menu system. The menu system is split over the 3 discs, because it's a 3-disc set. So when you pop in the first disc, you can see everything that's on every disc. And if you click to something that is on, like, the 3rd disc, it will zoom into the house and it will say, pop in your 3rd disc. And when you change the discs over, it picks up right exactly where it left off, and you resume in through the menu, and it's almost like they're all connected. Now, this menu system was just ripped from the DVD and stuck on the 4K. Like, didn't even remake it in 4K. They just upscaled the menu to 4K, honestly. But, like, the packaging on some of this stuff, like, you get lovely artwork like that. Okay, it's plastic, you know, like that or whatever. But, like, a lot of the stuff is fold-out beauty, you know? And you do get this on 4K, I know. The artwork style, the packaging style. But it all began on DVD, and all the extras began on Laserdisc, and a lot of extras don't come to 4K or even Blu-ray. They're either stuck on, like, a Criterion commentary track on Laserdisc and DVD, or there's a documentary that never got off the Laserdisc, or, you know, there's always just something that means you've got, if you want the completeness, you know, for everything, you've got to have multiple versions of it. And Last Man Standing will tell you that for, you know, he's got like 300 versions of American Pie. So it's the reason why I don't just stick with 4K is the overall package of what you get, the creativity, the personality. It's gone downhill since DVD. It really has. Like, even to Blu-ray, it's kind of gone down. They're kind of spitting them out, and they all kind of like generic now on your shelf with the blue tops, and you know, and it's like where is that creative spirit? You know, where's that personality? You know, that when these are all lined up on your shelf, they actually look pretty cool. They all look like, here, I'll grab a few. When you've got a few of these puppies, they actually connect into place, I think. Like the Warner Brothers snapper cases, when you have them all perfectly lined up, they're like a block, and they're uniformed, and they all, like, I don't know, this, like, only Warner Brothers did this shit. I don't know why, only. But, yeah. The sixth reason is the selection of films. Obviously, DVD going since 95 in Japan, 96 in America, 97 in the UK, and 99 in Australia. It's got the largest library to choose from, you know. Blu-ray's been going since 2005, over 2 million titles. Don't even know how many DVDs because even AI stopped counting. But 4Ks, they've got less than 5,000 titles. Like, they're early doors. They're still a baby. You know, it's 4K, cute little baby this is. You know? And so if I only stuck to 4K, I would have such a limited library of films. Like, I would not be able to buy half the films that I've got that I want because it ain't available yet on 4K. You know, I'd have to wait and wait and wait. Like, we only just got Minority Report in the last 6 months. You know what I mean? And this is from 2005 or 2004 or something like that. And, you know, the DVD has been out since, what, 2000 and, you know, what date does it say on here? Does it give a date? 2007, that's when that came out. This Blu-ray has a date of probably like 2011, I think it came out. And now in 2025, we got the 4K. Like, I'd be waiting forever for a lot of films. If I open up my, you know, Blu-ray, DVD, even Laserdisc, I bet you there is a Laserdisc that will never come to Blu-ray or 4K. You know, because there's even a Laserdisc, the Signature Collection, which they all pretty much came. Like, every Laserdisc you'll find in the Signature Collection came to, and I know this is universal, but came to the collector's edition, you know. All of them but one, for richer for poor, it never came to DVD in the Signature Collection. You can get it on DVD, but it ain't collector's edition version for some reason. So yeah, I would be so limited. The final reason, okay, and this is what enables me to literally buy the multiple formats of DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, and Laserdisc, the complete collection. What enables me to do is that I have the ability to upscale older formats to 4K, right? Instead of investing, like, I hope this is what you've taken from this video. Instead of investing in films on 4K, I invested in hardware for Blu-ray and DVD. And now I can be very selective with the 4Ks I buy because I can get just as much of enjoyment out of DVD and out of Blu-ray as I can 4K. Even the Laserdisc, right, looks just as acceptable as the Blu-ray. No joke, because I bought upscalers. I bought upscaling technology that professionals used back in 2004. And even that old age technology upscales everything to a watchable, perfectly fine version. Like you'd think you were watching the Blu-ray on DVD, or you'd think you were watching the cleanest version of the Laserdisc you've ever seen, you know. Even Blu-rays just look no different from 4K, just the 4Ks look a bit sharper. I have the ability to upscale, and so therefore my library of content of what I can buy has just exploded open. And I can go to a charity shop. And I hope I can show you this now. And they all fall down. Everything's falling. I can spend a tenner on a big bag like that filled with DVDs. There's about 100 in there, and it cost me less than a tenner. And I can sit there and watch them on a 4K OLED 55-inch with 5.0 surround speakers and have the same amount of enjoyment as watching a 4K on that same OLED with Dolby Atmos, which my TV does have. Like, I can pop in this Laserdisc and enjoy this just as much as a Blu-ray. Like, not much difference in the picture. Seriously. You might think I'm full of BS, but you can check out my reviews because I do comparisons on every one that I have. Like, I will 100%, if I can find the other one, Ease Gone Walkies. They're always not where you put them. Okay. Batman, where you gone, mate? You're not here. There you are. Don't know how you got under there, because I literally just held you up a moment ago. When I come to do a review of Batman, I will be doing it across the 4K, the Blu-ray included in here, the Blu-ray included in here, and the Laserdisc. I don't have the VHS, but if I did, I would include it. But when I do my film reviews, they are comparisons as well, you know, where possible. I don't have too many double-dipped films because obviously I've sold all my DVDs, although I've started to buy a lot back, but I'm not getting ones that I've already got on Blu-ray or 4K. You know, except the only exception to that rule is if it's a Warner Brothers Clipper case, because I do want to collect a few of these because I actually quite like the aesthetic, even though I have the special edition version of this. This is the one I remember, and this has a better quality because it's a 2-discer. But yeah, other than that kind of example, I'm not double dipping on, you know, intentional. Anyway, my voice is gone, so I'm off now. Now, what I want to do, guys, is put the power back in your hands, and thank you for sitting through this hour-long video. I have a budget for myself, okay, of £30 a month that I spend on physical media, and I've been able to stick to it relatively easily. But I get paid from YouTube roughly about £60 every 2 months. I want to put it power into your hands, and in the comments put down, with a budget of it up to £60, what 4K Blu-ray would you like to see me buy and review on this channel. You've got 60 quid to spend. This will happen in the month of August, so from now until June, put in what you want me to buy. I will buy it around June, July, and review it for August, my birthday, and it can be a birthday present from you guys to me. But it must be a 4K, okay? So the power is in your hands now, guys, and thank you so much for sitting through this ramble. If you've made it this far, just let me know that you've made it this far. Put it in the comments. You are a 4K master with the film that you want me to buy, and I'll take a general consensus of the average of what people are saying, and that's what I will get in June. I'll also mention it on my next live stream. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next discussion. Bye-bye.